Chapter 2. And it came to pass in the month Nisan, in the 20th year of Artaxerxes the king, when wine was before him, that I took up the wine, and gave it unto the king. Now I had not been beforetime sad in his presence. And the king said unto me, Why is your countenance sad? Seeing you art not sick, this is nothing else but sorrow of heart. Then I was very sore afraid. And I said unto the king, Let the king live forever. Why should not my countenance be sad, when the city, the place of my fathers' graves, the place of my fathers' sepulchres, lieth waste, and the gates thereof are consumed with fire? Then the king said unto me, For what doest you make request? So I prayed to the God of heaven, and I said unto the king, If it please the king, and if your servant have found favor in his sight, that you would send me unto Judah, unto the city of my fathers' sepulchres, that I may build it. And the king said unto me, the queen also sitting by him, For how long shall your journey be, and when will you return? So it pleased the king to send me, and I set him a time. Moreover I said unto the king, If it please the king, let letters be given me to the governors beyond the river, that they may let me pass through till I come unto Judah, and a letter unto Asaph, the keeper of the king's park, that he may give me timber to make beams for the gates of the castle which appertaineth to the house, and for the wall of the city, and for the house that I shall enter into. And the king granted me according to the good hand of my God upon me. Then I came to the governors beyond the river, and gave them the king's letters. Now the king had sent with me captains of the army and horsemen. And when Sanballat the Horani, and Tobiah the servant, the Ammoni, heard of it, it grieved them exceedingly, for that there was come a man to seek the welfare of the children of Israel. So I came to Jerusalem, and was there 3 days. And I rose in the night, I and some few men with me, neither told I any what my God put into my heart to do for Jerusalem, neither was there any beast with me, save the beast that I rode upon. And I went out by night, by the valley gate, even toward the dragon's well, and to the dung gate, and viewed the walls of Jerusalem, which were broken down, and the gates thereof were consumed with fire. Then I went on to the fountain gate, to the king's pool, but there was no place for the beast that was under me to pass. Then went I up in the night, in the valley, and viewed the wall, and I turned back and entered by the valley gate, and so returned. And the rulers knew not whither I went, or what I did, neither had I as yet told it to the Jews, nor to the priests, nor to the nobles, nor to the rulers, nor to the rest that did the work. Then said I unto them, You see the evil case that we're in, how Jerusalem lieth waste, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. Come, and let us build up the wall of Jerusalem, that we be no more a reproach. And I told them of the hand of my God, which was good upon me, as also of the king's words that he had spoken unto me. And they said, Let us rise up and build. So they strengthened their hands for the good work. But when Sanballat the Horani, and Tobiah the servant of the Ammoni, and Geshem the Arabian heard it, they laughed us to scorn, and despised us, and said, What is this thing that you do? Will you rebel against the king? Then answered I them, and said unto them, The God of heaven, he will prosper us. Therefore we his servants will arise and build. But you have no portion, nor right, nor memorial in Jerusalem. All right, let's go back up to verse 1. Now we remember in the last chapter, these were the words of Nehemiah. Nehemiah is those that are comforted of God. Then he was the one who come forth from those that had been enlightened of God. And his brethren had come from Judah, where the earlier captivity had just coming back, and they was there, and the nations were troubling them around about, and causing them this trouble, and the work on the house of God and Jerusalem had slowed down because of all this. And we're going to find out in this chapter. It's during the period of Artaxerxes, and We found out about Artaxerxes in this period of time in the book of Ezra, and we're going to find out. This was going to be the second wave of captivity, the second wave coming back, and part of it, when Nehemiah would come back, this would be during that period of time, even that period under Artaxerxes. We're going to find that when the people come that Nehemiah had run into, Hanani, when he came back out of Jerusalem, he told Nehemiah the bad news, and Nehemiah fell down and wept and was praying unto God. And Nehemiah basically introduces himself, we found in the last verse. He is the cupbearer. Now, he is the one who serves the drink unto the king, and we'll find out it's to serve the king his wine. That's where we're picking it up in verse 1. And it came to pass in the month Nisan, in the 20th year of Artaxerxes the king, when wine was before him, that I took up the wine, and gave it unto the king. Now I had not been beforetime sad in his presence. And we found that Nehemiah, these that are comforted of God, are the cupbearers unto the king. And it does come to pass in the month. And the month is always a period of time under the lesser light of Nisan, and that will be their flight. And that is where we're at, was in their flight. They was escaping from this captivity that they had been in. This was during that period of time. Even in the 20th year of Artaxerxes, the 20th year of Artaxerxes is a period of time, portion. 20th is always a portion of Artaxerxes' greater reign. We would find this portion, even the 20th year. 20 is 2 tenths, and that's to witness the law. It's redemption, and it's even the portion of redemption in the greater understanding. And this is going to be what we consider the lesser teaching, and then there's the greater teaching, the understanding what comes from the greater understanding, even this of Artaxerxes. Artaxerxes he's the one that stirs it up. And the reason he stirs it up is to cool it down, because it's boiling. He's the king. And when wine was before him, and this is when he was merry, he was making merry, and he was in the mode of relaxation, we can see, at his rest. We'll find out the wine was brought before the king. And Nehemiah states that he had not been before sad, or we find his countenance. He was saddened in his appearance, where we could see, too. And the king said unto me, Why is your countenance sad, seeing you are not sick? This is nothing else but sorrow of heart. Then I was very sore afraid. And the king notices that his countenance was sad. He could perceive it by the look, by vision, by seeing. And we can look upon somebody and see whether they're in a regular spirit, or if they're happy, or if they're somehow, there's a sadness about them. And this would be the same thing the king had noticed. And then when we see this outward appearance, we know that inward there's a sadness or something in the heart, and that's what the king states. This is nothing else but there's sorrow of heart. These things we understand what's going on inside. We may not know exactly what it is, but we know that there is something. 3. And I said unto the king, Let the king live forever. Why should not my countenance be sad, when the city, the place of my father's sepulchres, lieth waste, and the gates thereof are consumed with fire? And Nehemiah, he states to the king, Why shouldn't I be sad? Why shouldn't my countenance, why shouldn't I have inner sorrow, seeing now that this city, we'll be talking about Jerusalem, that's that place of peaceful teachings, place of my father's sepulchres, and these graves that were there, and that's what these are, where my family is buried, lieth waste, and the gates thereof are consumed with fire. And the gates, those are the places where we used to gather in judgment, the gates thereof, and that's what we're talking about in a past tense, that the gates, these that we'll find that have been consumed with fire, because it was the work of God. Remember that was where God punished, that would become that parched place that he parched because he made an example there. It's not the first time. See, we'll find God's been doing a great work there for many, many years. For then the king said unto me, For what doest you make request? So I prayed to the God of heaven. Now, and the king wants to know that now that Nehemiah has made his understanding from within known, the king would ask him, For what do you make request? Is there something I can do? And so we'll find Nehemiah after praying to God. 5. And I said unto the king, if it please the king, and if your servant has found favor in your sight, that you would send me unto Judah, unto the city of my fathers' sepulchres, that I may build it. And he tells the king that if he's found favor, if he's been a good servant, if I've been a good servant in your eyes, and I've found favor, and that you would send me back to Judah, this place of praisings, unto the city of my father's sepulchres, where my family's buried, that I may build it, that I may restore it, rebuild, see, that, and because it had been built before and been destroyed, and that it may be rebuilt. 6. And the king said unto me, the queen also sitting by him, For how long shall your journey be, and when will you return? So it pleased the king to send me, and I set him a time. And the king says unto me, the queen also sitting beside him, and the queen is always the feminine reflection of the king, this pleasantness, the beauty, all this that goes with the king. For how long shall your journey be, and when will you return? And so it pleased the king, see. It was pleasing the king, and we find out he was pleased. The wine had made merry, and the king was pleased with the queen sitting beside him. He was in reclination, or he was reclining in his rest, and those that were comforted by God, Nehemiah, sets him a period, sets him a time for his return. 7. Moreover, I said unto the king, If it please the king, let the letters be given to me, to the governors beyond the river, that they may let me pass through till I come unto Judah. Moreover, as well, Nehemiah says to the king, If it please the king, let letters be given me to the governors beyond the river. These ones that was beyond the river. The river is some waters that descend, these waters that come down, and then what they do is they separate these two lands, these two places, where one where the king was, and the other where all those that served him, we can use with that understanding, that they may let me pass through the land, let me pass through until I come unto Judah. And this was be like an order of the king, giving passage, safe travel through. 8. And a letter unto Asaph, the keeper of the king's park, that he may give me timber to make beams for the gates of the castle, which appertaineth to the house, and for the wall of the city, and for the house that I shall enter into. And the king granted me, according to the good hand of my God upon me, as well as these letters that go to the governors of all those provinces that are beyond the river, these districts that were ruled by the king, beyond the river. A letter unto Asaph, the keeper. And Asaph, the word means gatherer. Asaph is the gatherer. He is the keeper, or the one that is in charge of the king's park. And the king's park, of course, that is that park. What a park is a reserve. It's actually a reserve. We have those today. We call them forests or reserves, and it was the same thing at that time. The word is parek, and it means a reserve of timber in this case, a forest. And it was the king's forest, that he may give me the timber to make the beams for the gates of the castle, and which pertaineth to the house. And these are the gates of that. The temple is really what we're talking about. And the These beams would be made from the timbers, and the timbers from the trees of the forest. And these trees of the forest are always those that exalt themselves, and they exalt themselves for a period till they grow, and they grow, and they grow, and they become great in the forest, and then they're hewed down to make the beams for the gates, and that's the places of judgment of the castle. And this is going to be that which pertains to the house, even the house of God, and for the wall of the city. And that's the wall. That's that thing that's going to separate the place with the guard. And for the house that I shall enter into, even this house that Nehemiah is going to inhabit, and that's those that are comforted of God. And the king granted me according to the good hand, and this is even that good work of God that was upon me. 9. Then I came to the governors beyond the river, and gave them the king's letters. Now the king has sent with me captains of the army and horsemen. Then I came to the governors beyond the river, and these were the ones that was in charge of those districts, those provinces, and gave them these letters. These were the written words that come from the king. Now the king had sent me with these captains of the army and horsemen, and these captains of the armies, that's these ones he set. These are the rulers of the army, or the host of heaven, or the host of God, the king. And the horsemen are those men who sit in these great strengths, who are in the host. 10. And when Sanballat the Horani and Tobiah the servant, the Ammoni, heard of it, it grieved them exceedingly, for that which there was come a man to seek the welfare of the children of Israel. And when Sanballat the Horani, and we'll find out these would be some of those governors that were beyond the river. And these were the rulers that were established beyond the place where the waters separate the king and the rest of the provinces. Sanballat is just the strength, and he was a Horani, and one from Horan is what that means. And what it is Horan is the place of holes. See, that's a place of holes. It's a plural for a hole, and it was the place of holes. And I like to refer to them sometime as and we'll find out it's going to wind up. It's like a place where the light's shining through a couple holes, and the light can be seen if you're inside the hole. Tobiah is Tov is good. See, Tov is good. Tobiah as this goodness of God, goodness of Yah, and he is the servant. He is the servant. That's the one who serves. See, this goodness of God that serves the Ammoni, and the Ammoni are those of the nations, all the nations, heard of it. When they heard of it, it grieved them exceedingly, for that there was come a man and what this man would do, it was Nehemiah, these that were comforted of God, to look for the welfare of these children of Israel, and that's those that contend with the mighty one. So I came to Jerusalem, that place of peaceful teachings, and was there 3 days. These 3 days, and to complete these understandings. 3 is always by the mouth of 3. See, it's made known, and 3 is to complete. I like to use it to complete, or to firmly establish the witness of these understandings. 12. And I rose in the night, I and some few men with me, neither told I any man what my God put into my heart to do for Jerusalem, neither was there any beast with me, save the beast that I rode upon. And I rose in the night, and during this period of darkness, that is the first portion of the day, and I saw, and some few men with me, neither told I any man what my God had put into my heart to do for Jerusalem. And so we find that Nehemiah was keeping it a secret. He was kind of keeping back. He'd been there for several days, and he was keeping back what the king had given him. And we'll find out this very well relates to those letters of Artaxerxes that we read about in Ezra. And we'll find out there was no beast with him. Nobody else, everybody was walking but Nehemiah. And this beast that he was riding upon. 13. And I went out by night by the valley gate, even toward the dragon's well, to the dung gate, and viewed the walls of Jerusalem, which were broken down, and the gates thereof were consumed with fire. So he goes out during this, and it's going to be that very early portion of the morning. It's still during the night in this period of darkness. He goes out by the valley, and the valley's always that low land. See that low place, that valley gate, and that's where the gate is a place of judgment for that lowland, and I like to refer to it as the flesh, even toward the dragon's well. And the dragon's well, the dragon is that serpent. The dragon is simply a serpent. It's something that's long-gated. And that's where it gets its root from, that which is long-gated. We're talking about the old serpent and the well, this place where he drinks at, there near the valley gate, and to the dung gate, and viewed the walls of Jerusalem. And this dung gate is the gate of refuge. It's where they used to take the garbage out. And that's that place of judgment where they take the garbage out, and they would take it and throw it out and burn it. And viewed the walls of Jerusalem. And these walls of Jerusalem, even that was there, but around these gates, because Jerusalem was a walled city. And even those peaceful teachings, those teachings of peace, but they had been broken down. We remember when the king, when Nebuchadnezzar came in, and the Chaldeans broke down the walls and destroyed the gates, and the gates thereof were consumed with fire. And this was when those of confusion came in and done this. And these places of judgment, they were consumed by this judgment. 14. Then I went on to the fountain gate and to the king's pool. But there was no place for the beast that I was that was under me to pass. Then I went on, continuing now around the walls, to the fountain gate. And this fountain gate, the word here is ayin, and it means the gate of vision. This will be the judgments even of that place where they used to sit in visions, and even that king's pool. Well, the king's pool, it's basically the king's pond is what it is. It's a king's little pool of water where he used to kneel and drink, and it was his personal place to drink. But there was no place there for this beast, and this beast, once again, this ass, most likely, this little ass that he was sitting upon, going around the city. There was no place for it to go through, so he couldn't find a place for the ass to get through, or the beast that he was sitting upon. 15. Then went I up in the night in the valley, and viewed the wall, and I turned back and entered by the valley gate, and so returned. Then I went up in the night. Still, it was during this period of darkness in the valley. That's that lower place. Even I like to refer to the valley and all that's down in it. It's like that. It's like a trap. It's like something you fell into a place and you can't get out of it. And I like to refer to it as the place of flesh. And I viewed the walls. That's those things that separate. And I turned back and entered by the valley gate, and so returned. And by that valley gate, that's where I went out. That's that place of flesh. I entered back in, even that place of the judgment here in the valley gate, in the valley, and so returned. And even through this judgment of the flesh, that would be where I would return, or the return would be. 16. And the rulers knew not whither I went, or what I did, neither had I as yet told it to the Jews, nor to the priests, nor to the nobles, nor to the rulers, nor to the rest that did the work. And the rulers there, these ones who was over the city and in charge of everything that was going on, didn't know what Nehemiah and those that were confident of God was doing. They still wasn't aware, because he hadn't told the Jews, those of Judah, nor the priests, those that stood before God, nor the nobles. All those nobles are of the royalty of these that are of the royal seed. We can That's just who they are. Nor the rulers, these governors, these that were in charge of all the people and all the activities there, the heads of the fathers' houses, nor the rest that did the work. And these rest that did the work was anybody that was doing and what that was still working on the house of God. We know they were still working on it. They're just things had lost their vigor during this period of time because all the other nations were oppressing them, coming in, taunting them, making fun, saying you can't get it done. They only had just a small remnant of people working on the job, but we'll find there's going to come this resurgence of strength, and Nehemiah, those that are comforted by God, are bringing it with them. 17. Then said I unto them, you see the evil case that we are in, how Jerusalem lieth waste, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. Come and let us build up the wall of Jerusalem, that we be no more a reproach. Then said I unto them, you see this evil case that we are in. You see this that is before your eyes. It's easy to see how Jerusalem lies waste, destroyed. Well, of course, it's not like it should be. We'll find out the gates, the places of judgment are gone. And this is that place of peaceful teachings. See, these places of judgment have been taken away. They've been burned, consumed with the fire. That's the judgment of God. Now, just them not being there is the judgment of God. See, we can see this in the earth. These are the places where they enter in these judgments of God. When these judgments, what causes judgments? It's the law that causes judgment. See, when we are observant to the law, we enter in. There's through these places of the gates, but when we don't observe the law of God, we come to these places for the judgments, and that's where they are, because it's the law that goes forth and it judges us automatically. And these have been put away. There's no understanding of these. There's no teaching of these. And then when we find this in the earth, we know it's the judgment of God, that He's taken down the law. They've been consumed. And this wall has been removed. This is the wall that protects Jerusalem, that place of peaceful teachings. It needs to be rebuilt, restored, that we be no more of reproach. 18. And I told them of the hand of my God which was good upon me, as also of the king's words that he had spoken unto me. And they said, let us rise up and build. So they strengthened their hands for the good work. And I told them of the hand of my God which was good upon me. And this was the goodness of my God that was upon me, this hand, this work even, that he had given, as also of the king's word that he had spoken. And this was that letters that he had been given, even from the king. And they said, let us rise up and build. And we'll find out this was when it all began. So they strengthened their hands and their works for the good work, to do the good work, to do, and that's to bring forth the good work, the good understanding of God, his work that he did, even in the beginnings. 19. But when Sanballat the Horani, and Tobiah, the servant of the Ammoni, Geshem the Arabian, heard it, they laughed us to scorn and despised us, and said, what is this thing you do? Will you rebel against the king? But when Sanballat the Horani, Sanballat was that strength of the place of holes. He was that Horani. He's the strength of that place of holes, those caves where the light's shining in. Tobiah, remember Tobiah? He was that goodness of God. He was the servant of the nations, the people of the nations. And Geshem the Arabian. Oh yeah, Geshem. Geshem means showers of rain. This showers of rain coming down, this understanding of God. He is the Arabian, and these Arabians are the steppe dwellers. And these steppe dwellers, the steppe dwellers are real, and what it means is those that dwell back into the shadows of the steppes. this place where the darkness is. They dwell there in the shadows of it. When they heard about it, they laughed us to scorn and despised us, and they wanted to know if they was going to rebel against the king. But we'll find out. They had letters. They had their papers in order. 20. Then answered I them, and said unto them, the God of heaven, he will prosper us. Therefore we his servants will arise and build, but you have no portion, nor right, nor memorial in Jerusalem. Then I answered them and said, see, God of heaven, that's the God of all understanding, he will prosper us. Therefore we, his servants, will arise and build it. But you got no portion. You have no portion, nor right, nor memorial in Jerusalem. That's that which is going to bring memory, that which is going to cause the memory to come about in Jerusalem, and that's a place of peaceful teachings. See, God's been making an example, and we're going to find out. God's going to restore. We're catching it in the middle of the restoration of the house of God, and we're going to pick it up in chapter 3. Turn and return